Ever find out that new hires at your job are making more than you, even though you've been there way longer? Brand new employees, fresh out of training, are right there next to you doing the same work. You have more experience, you know the job better, you spend time fixing their errors, and you might even be the one training them. And yet somehow, they're the ones bringing home the bigger paycheck. You're definitely not alone. Just found out newer employees are getting paid more than I am. I was reviewing our job listings, and the minimum starting point is more than I'm currently getting paid. Not to mention they, new employees, have no experience in the field, and I have 2 years more than them. Has anyone experienced this? What are some options I have, aside from the obvious, start job searching? There's nothing that will sour the sentiment at work and your attitude towards your boss quite like finding out you're being paid less than the new people coming in. Yeah, it's annoying, but it also feels like a punch to the gut after all the time and effort you put in. The thing is, it's rarely a mistake or an oversight. It's a calculated move by the company to attract fresh talent, even if that means overlooking the people who've been there all along. So what does that mean for you? If they're playing chess, you need to play chess too. Because handling this the wrong way can make things worse. But handled right, it could totally change your situation. Happened to me. I discussed it with my boss. She said, "There's nothing I can do. I found a job and got an offer for more money." All of a sudden, she said, "How much more would I need to pay you to stay?" I said, "Too late. I mentally moved on. You lost me when I asked the first time. Sorry, but generally it's a dead end, and finding a new job is the way to get more money." Here's something most people don't realize. Your relationship with your employer is a business deal, not a personal partnership. Companies aren't in the business of being generous. They're in the business of managing costs. They'll pay you just enough to keep you from quitting, no more. Why? Because they know job hunting is terrible. Updating resumes, interviews, playing games, and making up answers to questions like, "Where do you see yourself in 20 years?" and "Why do you want to work for us?" It's a hassle. Most people would rather avoid all that and stick with what they know. That's why so many employees stay, even when they feel underpaid. But when you actually start signaling that you're serious about leaving, maybe you hand in your resignation notice, things change. Suddenly, your employer faces a choice. They might realize replacing this person is going to cost us time and money, recruiting fees, training, lost productivity, so they might come to the table with a raise or other incentives to keep you. On the other hand, sometimes companies just don't care. They're perfectly willing to let you leave, even if it means bringing in a new hire at a higher salary than what you were making. It sounds counterintuitive and doesn't seem to add up financially, but it happens more often than you'd think. Many employers prefer to avoid the headache of negotiating with someone who's been there a while and instead hire fresh, even if that person has no experience. For example, you'll often see job listings offering $5,000 or $10,000 more than what veteran employees earn, and the company accepts that extra cost without batting an eye. Same thing for me. Just found out my colleagues are making $40,000 more than me, actively looking for a new job now. When the pay gap is that big, it can feel like bringing up a raise is pointless. Have you ever sat down with your boss, laid out all the facts, and hoped for a real raise, only to hear, "We'll review it at the end of the year"? It's a classic delay tactic that buys the company time while you keep feeling undervalued. In this case, if it buys them 6 months, it's at least $20,000 saved. Even if they do eventually approve a raise, it's rarely anything close to what would actually close the gap. Instead of the $40,000 needed in this case to match the others, you're usually offered a modest increase, often somewhere around 3%, which barely moves the needle. I was at a company for 4 years and didn't get a single raise. I didn't even quit, I got laid off. 3 months later and I've almost doubled my paycheck, and I might even be up for a promotion already, because it was the job I was doing at my last company but never got the promotion. The moral of the story, which you might not hear from some other folks, is that skills are the most important thing you can get from a job. If a company is developing you and making you valuable, you should stay even if they aren't giving you raises. If you have the skills, the money will come. Don't let companies waste your time. That's the silver lining in all of this. Switching jobs has been proven time and time again to result in significantly larger pay increases than staying put. How much you can gain depends a lot on how competitive the job market is in your field and location. But when demand is high, employers are often willing to offer much better compensation to attract experienced talent. Instead of just waiting around for your current employer to finally give you the raise you think you deserve, which might never come, focus on using the time there to really build up your skills and gain experience. Take on projects that challenge you, learn new tools or techniques, become better at interacting with others, and find ways to add value that go beyond your day-to-day tasks. Rather than putting in extra effort and hoping for a raise, see it as a way to improve your skills. The more you grow professionally, the stronger your position will be when it's time to look for new opportunities. By investing in yourself while you're still at the job, you're not just improving your resume, you're making yourself more marketable and harder to replace. That means when you're ready to make a move, whether to a new company or a higher role, you'll have the track record and confidence to negotiate better pay and terms. In the long run, this approach can open doors that staying stagnant never will. Pretty standard. Getting 3% raises each year when inflation is sometimes 8% means you're actually getting a 5% decrease in purchasing power the longer you stay at these companies. Even though your paycheck might be going up on paper, the reality is that your money doesn't stretch as far as it used to. That's because the prices of everyday essentials, things like groceries, gas, rent, and utilities, are often rising faster than your income. So if your raise is around 4%, but inflation is also 4%, you're essentially making the same amount of money as before, just with a higher number attached to your paycheck. This can be really frustrating, because while it feels like progress when you see that bigger deposit hit your bank account, the moment you walk into the grocery store or pay your rent, it hits you. Everything costs more now. The experience and skills you've gained over the year don't translate into actual increased buying power. They're basically keeping your pay the exact same. My opinion is that you shouldn't need to ask the first time. They knew when they decided to change starting wages. They chose to disrespect you and gambled that you wouldn't find out. It definitely feels disrespectful when a company quietly bumps up starting salaries but leaves longtime employees stuck where they are. It's easy to expect they do the right thing without having to ask. But the truth is, businesses focus on the bottom line, not feelings. If they have 100 employees who seem satisfied with their pay and aren't complaining, they're not going to start handing out $10,000 raises to everyone just because it might boost morale or productivity. It's not that they don't appreciate you, it's that they're trying to keep expenses in check and avoid triggering a chain reaction of raises. Once you start thinking of your job as a business deal rather than a personal relationship, you'll be in a much better spot to navigate situations like this. A lot of employees sit back because they believe their boss is doing everything they can to fight for them. Your boss is trained to act like they're fighting in your corner, making it seem like they're on your side and really pushing hard for your raise. But the reality is, they're negotiating on behalf of the company first and foremost, not you. This dynamic is a classic example of the good cop, bad cop negotiating tactic. They play the role of the good cop, empathizing with your frustration and promising to advocate for you, while actually working within strict budget limits and company policies. They're not trying to be mean or stop your raise just to cause trouble. It's really their job to keep the company's costs under control. Management usually benefits when payroll costs stay low. Many managers get bonuses, stock options, or a share of the company's profits. So if the company spends less on salaries, it makes more money, which means bigger bonuses. So when your boss says things like, "I'd love to get you that raise, but budgets are tight and upper management isn't budging right now," they're reflecting pressures from above, and giving you that raise might mean they don't get a new car this year. Keeping raises small or delayed helps management meet financial targets, which means more money in their pocket. This creates a built-in tension. Your raise means less money for them, so their incentives don't always line up with yours. Understanding this will change the way you approach negotiations. Your boss isn't the bad guy, but they're working within a system that's all about keeping costs down, even if it means that your paycheck doesn't grow like it should. Once you get how things really work, you can be smarter about your approach, whether that's doing your homework on market salaries, putting together a solid case, or thinking about looking elsewhere where you actually get paid what you're worth. Have you ever run into this situation? What did you do about it?